There's an old school feel about today, and we are at the home of Formula Racing. The first ever Formula One championship race took place here in 1950, and this is a circuit that time immemorial will always have the blood of racing flowing through it. We take a throwback to the past here today. It's a classic. It's the legacy version of Silverstone today, and it's here with us on the Global Sim Racing channel for your Grand Prix Legends action on a Sunday special. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to everyone watching around the world. My name is Jake Sperry. Alongside me in the booth for today's action is Joey Atterbury, with Daniel Costello in the director's chair. He's using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But Silverstone, as a classic layout, is one which is all about high speed and thrills. This is about pick and choose in terms of moments, and these moments are going to be important here today as we discuss this, a special race that we are having compared to why we weren't able to bring this to you 24 hours ago. Let's take a look though at our GSRC track guide to take us through the classic pitfalls that Legacy Silverstone has to offer.
Welcome to Silverstone. Most famously known for being the first circuit to host a round of Formula One, this place has since become synonymous with British motorsports. Hosting everything from sports cars to touring cars to open wheels and even motorcycles, it's a track that fits a wide variety of vehicles. With 5 different layouts to choose from, you've got a little something for any level of racing. The longest of those layouts boasts 17 turns over more than 3 miles or 5 kilometers, so it can take a bit to get around it, even in higher-powered machinery. Its main characteristics are the long straights, swift corners, and general lack of elevation change. Its most famous set of turns is definitely the Maggots-Beckett sequence, in which anything with high downforce finds itself challenged with the rapid changes of direction. While there is a fair bit of paved runoff and quick corners like Copse and Stowe, the time lost from going off can be costly. There's a few turns with opportunities for overtaking, including Vale, Abbey, and Priory, but in cars with less horsepower, expect the slipstream to be where many attempt to get by. The Hangar Straight is perhaps the most notorious for draft battles to erupt. All in all, this versatile racetrack located just northwest of London provides both history in its roots and action on the tarmac. The huge number of British fans that typically attend events are seldom left wanting.
This is a circuit that has so much to offer. It's been modernized, though, for the modern epitome of Formula vehicles, giving more opportunities to find overtaking out on circuit. But this classic affair has the most brilliant section of it, taking that Abbey flick left, under bridge, and the deadly Priory corner, Joey. This is a throwback amongst throwbacks here in Towcester, Northamptonshire.
It's just so perfect to be putting these vintage cars on the classic Silverstone. So yeah, the version we are racing today, 16 turns, 3.142 miles, or just a tick over 5 kilometers. And it is the old school Silverstone. So turn 1 Copse, the fastest corner on the racetrack that you're going to be hooking a hard right into. You do gain some speed into that S section, into the Maggots-Beckett Chapel complex, but they do have to downshift and get their rolling speed down a little bit, because remember, no downforce in these cars. Down the Hangar Straight always provides a great opportunity into Stowe, and then that's really where things kind of shift up a little bit from the current modern Silverstone that we've been watching this weekend on F1 on TV. But as long as you know the old classic circuit, things flow very nicely. Brooklands, Luffield, Woodcote, always to end out the lap here at Silverstone.
Absolutely, and that is a wonderful, complex section there, an arena-style finish here to the lap. But let's get an understanding of what the championship will look like coming in and out of today. Sebastian Tixier will have himself that run. This is a non-championship round here today, with Jorge Nieva just 10 points behind after the dramas the Nordschleife 1 week and 1 day ago. Marco Antonio Lopez moves up into 3rd ahead of Togo Hesada and David Rossi in 5th. Connor Tolman's podium last time out vaults him up into 6th position, with Kevin Verbruggen in 7th place, along with Robert Plumley. The World of Conducci finds himself in 8th. Nicola Cocchi is down in 9th position in the championship right now, with Matthew Maudsley rounding out the top 10. As this round will not count to the championship, it's an 11-round championship with 2 drops, Joey, and this is how F2 stacks.
Yeah, it's the same cars, just different iRating. Jan Steffen leading the way, but look at how close it is between those top 4 drivers. Only a single point back to Kurt Klapper, 2 points back to P3 with Thomas Willershausen, and then only 4 points back to the 4th place of Jonathan Jourdain. Thomas Tuba also only 13 points back. Andres Bruno sitting there in 6th, and then Roberto Pingrazzi, John Van Dorn, Alan Graham, and Jem Matson rounding out the top 10 in that F2 driver standings.
Yeah, and the Cup of Nations, you cannot forget here, is also hotly contested. Spain currently find themselves top of the pops there, with Singapore and the United Kingdom 2nd and 3rd. The United States giving a good challenge in 4th position, and they are trying to hold off the duo of the Netherlands and Japan, 5th and 6th. Italy find themselves in 7th, with Germany behind them in 8th. Sweden are 6 points adrift of that in 9th, with Slovakia rounding out the top 10 overall in the Cup of Nations. And let's just talk about how today's racing is about to go down, Joey, on this, a 20-lap exhibition.
Yeah, round 4 of 12 in this season, and like you just said, 20 laps around Classic Silverstone. They do click through them pretty good, about a minute 40, minute 45 around here. No spare car, so if you pick up any sort of damage out there, well, guess what? You're going to have to live with it or come down pit road and get it fixed up. Drive-through penalty at 17x and a disqualification at 25x. That's pretty standard stuff for the Grand Prix legends here. It's always don't pick up any damage on your car. There's plenty of runoff here at Silverstone and plenty of grass to kind of keep the momentum up, but just don't go running into somebody else.
Quite overcast skies here as we take a look at this wonderful Silverstone circuit here in the heart of Middle England, so to speak. And look at that. In terms of qualifying currently, a wonderful time by Topi Korteniemi as Togo Hosada steals it in his qualifying effort. 0.003 of a second. What a time by the young Japanese sensation.
It's always up to Togo to kind of dictate the grid. We always have tons of fast drivers, but somehow Togo Hosada always shows up and he always puts it at the top. And if he's not always at the top, he's within that top 3.
Well, once again, it's Togo Ichiban up in qualifying. That is qualifying done and dusted. Let's take a look at the grid. And as we saw at the top, Togo Hosada at the 11th hour snipes pole position by 0.003 of a second over Topi Korteniemi, with Steve Maurice in 3rd position and Nicola Cocchi lining up 4th. It's then Kevin Verbruggen and Gary Ho on row 3, with Bob Woodhouse 7th, and a nice start for Arturus Candelis in 8th position. Marco Antonio Lopez starts 9th, and it's Pedro Temeladri who will round out the top 10.
And everybody from here on back is actually around the corner. 11th, Michael Grissinger. 12th, next to him is going to be Jan Steffen. Roberto Pingrazzi starting 13th. Matthew Maudsley in 14th. Connor Tolman 15th. Jack Wells starting 16th. Cam Porter in 17th. Gabriel Pellegrino in 18th. Thomas Willershausen 19th. Alan Graham in 20th. And just a few more back here. Johnny Bell in 21st, Jonathan Jourdain 22nd, Bjorn Ackerman 23rd, and Kurt Klapper rounding out the 24 cars here today.
The all-John 11th row of the grid there, and that is something that, from a linguistics point of view, you've got to love out there. But it is an aggressive start at Copse Corner, and the big chance is going to not be through Maggots and Beckett's, but down over towards Stowe. Minimal elevation change here today at Silverstone, and in terms of the weather conditions that we've got, it's pretty average in terms of the track temperature, but wind-wise, it is blowing a gale, 26 kilometers an hour's worth of wind here, and what is a former airfield base. This is going to ripple across this circuit and cause nightmares in terms of braking. Next to the Johnny Herbert suite, we're going to get ourselves ready. Green flag in the air, and we're underway. A great start by Hosada, a slow one by Topi Korteniemi. Steve Morris has had a launch and a half. He'll go for the inside then at Copse. trying to get it done. Togo around the outside, and watch out for Toppy. Contact front to rear, and just like that, Courtiniemi sidles his way through, and Steve Maurice now on the back foot holds the rest of the group back through now Maggots and Beckett and into Chapel.
You saw one of the cars go a little bit wide, trying to get the nose tucked into the apex here, but it's all Togo Asada trying to run away from Topi Courtiniemi. Had a little bit of a slow start, but look at this, down the hanger straight. He's actually going to go defensive as Asada down the middle of the road. Topi Courtiniemi is going to try to go a long way around. Is an over-under coming out of the front too.
Oh, and there's that traditionally loose setup from Togo Asada trying to set up the run in through the Vale. Now the long club corner where it's all about run off the exit, planting it perfectly in the middle of the road is Togo Asada. And now on the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight, they take a left. They don't take the full chicane, but it's a fast flick left here, along here this Silverstone circuit, and over towards Bridge Corner where you can make the move here if you're incredibly brave, which leads to the beautiful Priory Corner. You can always set up a chance to find the moves. Maurice in third. Nicola Cocky trying to have a look down the inside at Brooklands Corner. Forces Maurice a little bit wide. And Maurice nothing there, but there's no drive on the exit there for Nicola Cocky. He has to fight all the way around Luffield Corner, and he'll finally get the move done at the end of the opener.
Just got to be so patient around those final few corners. They seem to last forever, but then, yeah, you get to put your foot down and really open it up. Careful about turn one here, though. Cops Corner is just so incredibly fast and tricky. We're actually going to go side by side into it for a battle for 14th place back here. I believe this Jack Wells going by Gabriel Pellegrino, and you saw how loose the car got, wiggling all around on exit, and I believe Cam Porter is going to try to take advantage as well.
Well, Pellegrino's actually had contact on the opening lap with Jan Stefan. Stefan out of the race after the contact at Bridge Corner. So those two getting a little bit tangled up together, causing a bit of drama on the opening lap. But Cam Porter, we love seeing him out there and charging up through the field. He's already up 2 spaces off the start. And the Virginia's man looking for a third place down the inside at Stowe. It's not there under braking. One of the longest braking tracks that you will get in iRacing out there. The only car that's comparable by braking distance, Joe, would be the 2 V8s.
Well, and also a lot of the corners here at Silverstone, you've got to kind of trail the brakes going into it. It's all about carrying the speed through the corners. So with these cars, yeah, they get up to incredibly high top speeds with the capability of the motor sitting right behind you, but also couple that with the lightweight, they have tremendous apex speed. So it's all about balancing that dance on the brake really in the first half of the corner.
Absolutely, and that's what we're seeing here with Kevin Verbruggen, a former F2 champion here in this series, trying to move up the ranks very similarly to what Togo Asada did once upon a time and pick up his first championship crown. But here in this exhibition, he's looking for his first chance. Let's take a look at a GSRC replay. This is what happened to Jan Stefan on the opening lap. You can see behind him is Pellegrino looking for an angle, and ultimately it's contact. And look at how the suspension completely caves in.
It was actually great physics there with the left rear gone. The thing just had no grip, spun around, and ended up stuck in the gravel. Now, this is live pictures of our lead battle. Jake, I've been keeping my eye on this. Check this one out. Courtiniemi's got the best run he's had. He's going to be side by side with our leader.
Well, Toppy has put Togo Asada through the ringer, but on the brakes on the inside, Togo Asada doing just enough. But watch the run on the exit here. Is the door left open here for the Vale? It is. But Togo's got the inside crucially for Club Corner. Can you hold it around the outside? You can use all of that runoff on the outside if you want it, Toppy. And he'll have the inside now heading to the Abbey, but the inside at Bridge is going to be there for Togo Asada, who struggles a little bit through the corner, really trying to maximize the circuit on the exit. Down to the inside at Bridge, and still he holds on the inside. Priory is his corner. Is this going to be where he finally unlocks the move? It is, and suddenly we got 1, 2, 3 Pikes from Beach Racing, and it's Toppy Courtiniemi who leads.
Nicola Cocky in third place there. That red car lurking in the shadows says thank you very much for going side by side through multiple corners. I'm really curious. I don't think that Togo Hisada is going to lose touch with Topi out front at all. I really do feel like he goes through a couple different phases, and we're only working lap number 4 right now, so I think Togo Hisada is going to bust out the pen and the notepad, see why that black number 1 is fast, and then all of a sudden he's going to get fast himself.
Topi Kohtaniemi, a 2-time champion here in this series. Togo Hisada, a 3-time champion in this series. Nicola Cocchi searching for his first championship in this series just behind, and there is Steve Morris, who looks at Kevin Verbruggen still, and Bob Woodhouse, who's been very, very good on the back of this group, just keeping himself in range, looking to go out there and challenge. Not quite close enough yet into Stowe Corner, but the challenge is going to be who wants what on the exit. I tell you what, Nicola Cocchi there just in front is starting to look racy here. He's thinking about, no, I don't want to be stuck behind Togo Hisada. I want my way through.
Well, you mentioned that car. He actually snagged the fastest lap the last time around, a 141.7. Compare that to Togo's 143.0. I know that Togo had gotten past that last lap, but you're right. This red number 2, it's definitely scorching fast right now.
It is, and in the rules of Warhammer, red things do in fact go fast and are allowed an extra little bit of movement. So for that big slide there by Togo Hisada might give Nicola Cocchi a chance, but well planted on the apex of Luffield. No way to get that sorted, and that gives Topi Kohtaniemi nearly a second, and that already here on lap 5 might be Topi saying goodbye for the rest of this race. He is mega quick in this car, and watch the cars pitch they go through. 41.5, fastest lap of the race by a race leader.
Absolutely. Once he was out in clean air, I just made the comment that the red number 2 was the fastest, but no, Topi, when he's got nobody in front of him, just says, see you later to everybody else. It is going to be tough to attach the rope to the back end of that number 1 today.
Exactly. You have to keep Topi Kohtaniemi on a leash, otherwise he will gallivant away like a whippet, and that is what is happening right now at 9/10. Kevin Verbruggen was side by side after Copse Corner, but he thinks that Stowe's a better place to make the move. He goes late down in on the brakes, fights it 2-3 different times to get it turned in, and he gets the move sorted on Steve Morris. That was bold and brave, and Kevin Verbruggen proving that he is a talent.
I think it was a great example of what we were talking about earlier, Jake, and just the balance on the brakes. You saw Kevin Verbruggen really have almost 2 full wiggles just going into the corners as he made that huge late lunge. You definitely have to have a gentle brake pedal, and you got to be very, very sensitive with that pressure.
You really do, and sensitivity is key to this car. It will very much be highly strung, and you have to dance around with this car. It almost drives you, in a sense, Joe, because this is the Colin Chapman car of all Colin Chapman cars. This is where Graham Hill and Jim Clark, the legends of old races gone by, have piloted this machinery. And the simple fact is, this is a car that philosophizes at weight, I would say at lightness and speed.
You know, it's kind of the old adage that anything will fly with enough power, right? That's kind of the same idea over here. Shove this awesome motor into this little itty-bitty cigar tube chassis and just see how fast it'll go. But I think one of the reasons why drivers are really drawn to these vintage machines is exactly what you were pointing out. You have to drive them. They're not like a GT3 with traction control and ABS. Your steering inputs, well, guess what? There's a reaction out of them. You're too aggressive with your right foot on the gas, well, guess what? It's going to get loose on you. You stomp on the brakes, it's going to lock everything up. However, it is so much fun once you get the hang of how it drives, the yaw angle, the slides that it produces. That is why this series and this car is so popular.
It really is. It takes a lifetime to master machinery like this, and there is Nicola Cocchi, who is so good in the middle sector of the lap here. Togo Hisada wakes up a little bit later on in the lap, and that gap's opened up to 1.3 seconds. So Togo Hisada had that gap at about 8/10, 9/10, but look at how he drives through bridge. He takes 0.2 of a second out of Topi Kohtaniemi, and then he'll give most of that time back up again through Brooklands. And then again, here at Brooklands Corner, it was Priory who was getting that back, but at Brooklands Corner, he's just struggling to get the car turned in. He's got a car that's so loose here, Joey, that I wonder if he's having a little bit of confidence issues out there in terms of how much he can turn the car, because the moment that he tries to turn a little bit too much, that car is snapping a lot more than everyone else's.
And let's explain that just a little bit. Loose is fast, don't get me wrong, because you're turning the steering wheel less. However, if you go too much loose, all of a sudden you're sliding. Think of you're doing more like a drift car rather than a neutral slide. What you want is basically the steering wheel pointed straight the whole time. As long as you're going forward, that's what you want. However, in the case of Togo Hisada, when you burn up those tires a little bit too much, or you have a little bit too much turn in the car, you can find yourself lacking the confidence of having that lateral grip that you need in the back end to actually propel forward. Instead, it's just sliding all around.
Yeah, and that's where Nicola Cocchi is really getting that opportunity here to charge forward. The Italian is hoping that he can rampage up through and gain a bit of time on Togo Hisada and move up into second position. This is a bragging rights race out there, and because this is non-championship, you would say, Joey, that there's a lot more liberties for these drivers in the front. It's a momentum race in terms of what you want. With no Sebastian Tixier here today, this is a chance to say, I'm going to build some momentum because I know what's coming up next. It's Misano next time out, and I want to have a little bit of form going into it. It's very much like the older Formula races where the F1 drivers would go into F2 races and there would be such thing as non-championship rounds.
I also think it's a little bit of an interesting mental game, especially for the drivers up front that already know they're fast. So they know that they're going to collect max points from this. They understand the situation, but I don't think that they appreciate not being on top of the timesheet. So right now, Topi Kortiniemi, yes, he's leading the race, but he's also kind of in that mental headspace that he's showing everybody else, be like, it doesn't matter that this is a no points race. I'm still faster than y'all. What do you think Togo Hisada thinks about that? He's probably pretty frustrated. So yeah, everybody's getting the same points, but these racers are still doing their thing.
They are still doing their thing, focusing on Matthew Maudsley down in 16th position. He's looking at Gabriel Pellegrino, Cam Porter, Jack Wells down there in 13th place. He's gained 3 out there at the moment, running through now Beckett's corner, and look at the setup that Maudsley's trying to do. It's the constant up and under that Maggots, Beckett's and Chapel seems to bring. This is the section of track, Joey, that often is imitated but is never duplicated.
Absolutely, that's a great way to put it. And you see Maudsley, he's just not going to make a move. He's just going to try to force Pellegrino into a little bit of a mistake. But yes, we've seen so many S sections created through the years. And don't get me wrong, there's plenty of fantastic S sections, but there is nothing like that Silverstone, Maggots, Beckett's, Chapel complex as you saw Maudsley actually almost run over the back of Pellegrino.
Very easy to do in this machinery. You're always trying to take as much as you can out of the corner. Look how aggressive over the curve goes Gabriel Pellegrino. He's one of the latest breakers down into this section. We saw that on lap 1 with Jan Stefan, who got caught out by that going forward. But it's all about work and trying to prioritize everything you can. Speaking of which, a little bit of work to do, for example, for drivers out there like Connor Tolman in 12th position, up 3 places in this race, Joey, but someone who got a podium last time out at the Nordschleife.
You know, Tolman definitely showed up at the Nürburgring. He did a terrific job a week ago. Is struggling a little bit more. It was awesome to have him in the interview booth afterwards since he was on the podium. He was extremely pumped with that result. He's looking forward to the rest of the season. He will be racing throughout the entire season here, so it'll be interesting to see how that number 14 does kind of throughout the back half of this 12-race season, I guess.
Well, it's a 12-race season with 11 championship rounds.
Yeah.
Dropped, so best 9 results will count today in this championship. Bob Woodhouse continuing to shadow Steve Maurice here in 5th position. So this is still going to be opportunity knocks right now for the number 5 machine, who has been the epitome of consistency when it has come to these races. Bob Woodhouse is someone who you can always earmark for a top 10 result.
And these two right here have just kind of flip-flop positions from where they started. So Bob Woodhouse has passed Gary Ho in that purple car with the purple helmet, but Gary has definitely not given up on it. And we kind of have to remind ourselves we're only approaching halfway into this race. So this is the kind of the area that the drivers start to get a little bit fatigued, a little bit mentally. You start maybe thinking about what's for dinner or what's for lunch. Maybe is it too hot in the sim room? Do I need to turn on a fan? And all those little distractions can add up to lap time loss.
It certainly can, and here is Marco Antonio Lopez, third in the championship right now. Ninth place, looking at Arturas Kundelis here in eighth. That very lime green machine right now in front is just about keeping things there. These two have been together for the entirety of the race, and look at the contrasting lines between the two. Marco Antonio Lopez absolutely taking every piece of the track at Maggots, but it's more controlled by Arturas Kundelis there, so he can open up Beckett's corner to give himself the best possible run out of Chapel.
I gotta be honest, I'm actually a little surprised that Kundelis is a little bit further back than what I thought, and you saw Steve Morris just getting the door shut right there in front of him. That was Bob Woodhouse closing the door, so Bob Woodhouse, Steve Morris, and now Gary Ho make up this trio of cars.
Yeah, so Steve Morris now drops one, and now Gary's thinking, you know what, Steve? You were in the race lead into turn one. You're all the way back now in sixth place. I want a piece of the action as well. Steve has been dropping and dropping and dropping, and this is where Gary Ho could sense an element of weakness out here, and he tries to get in the mirrors through Priory Corner, really hoping that there's going to be an opportunity for mistakes to be made in the second half of this race. Currently your race leader, Topi Kortaniemi, is 1.6 seconds to the good over Togo Hesada. 5 world championships between the top two. And it comes to the Grand Prix Legend Series with Nicola Cocchi currently third position overall, holding on that group. Kevin Verbruggen is fourth, and he's a ways away from this group on screen, which is Woodhouse, Morris, and Gary Ho, with Kundelis, Marco Antonio Lopez, and Pedro Temeladri in 10th position. Here's the battle on for 11th place. Michael Grissinger here right now finds himself in a bit of a scrap. This is with Connor Tolman.
And if Connor can find a way by into 11th place, I think that he would be happy if he could get one more after that and finish up with another top 10. It might not be the podium like Nordschleife last week, but it's all about carrying that positive momentum a little bit wide there through that Beggett's Chapel complex and now out onto the Hangar Straight. So lost a little bit of momentum, but only working lap number 11 here. You just got to keep it pointed straight, and oftentimes the cleaner you are near the end of the race, the more people kind of fight and scrap for that last desperate position. You might actually be able to pick up 1 or 2 spots.
Would you think that Connor Tolman's issues right now, as we focus on Cam Porter a little bit behind, trying to get the pass done on Jack Wells, do you think that Jack Tolman's issue right now is that he's driving a Lotus rather than a Tolman?
Yeah, you know what? I knew that he is a little bit relatively new to these chassis, but yes, Jake, that does play well.
Does play well. There is Cam, the face of concentration right now, driving it about through Abbey Corner, looking under the bridge, which is the entrance to the circuit here in Towcester, Northamptonshire, England, and then through the Priory Corner, and trying to open up for an opportunity here. Little bit too far back right now, so it might take a couple laps, and he can't wait too long because he might bring Maudsley, who's through on Pellegrino, and Bjorn Ackermann into play. So those drivers certainly might have something to say in the second half of this race.
You always got to be a little bit careful, but knowing Cam Porter, he's usually got a head on a swivel out there, always aware of everything going on. He's usually racing 49s, 79s, also in the IMSA vintage stuff. Always great to see him logged on to those GSRC cameras. As Johnny Bell back here in 23rd in the number 23 car, chasing Jonathan Jordan in that pink number 20. Both of these cars part of that F2 Driver Championship.
Yeah, and that F2 Driver Championship, we must note, is an incredibly close championship out there overall at the moment when you consider that the top 4 in the championship are split by just 4 points out there between Stefan Klapper, Willershausen and Jonathan Jourdain. Jan Stefan is probably counting his lucky stars here today around this circuit, Joey, that this is, of course, a non-championship round.
I think that there's probably a few of those drivers looking through the order here. I mean, you're right, Jack Wells has kind of fallen down a little bit. He's rocking the number 6 board. In 8th place, Arturas Kundelis in that number 4 car. So, to your point, I think that there might be a few drivers caught out by Legacy Silverstone.
Yeah, it's a very unique style circuit in the sense that it's not often that you go to legacy tracks and race what's there. You get an understanding, especially for those who are coming up and understanding Silverstone. They would have probably gone into racing games and would have looked at things, Joey, and gone, you know what, Silverstone's the one where, you know, you start over on the straight and you go through the right, left, right, in through the loop. You know, they don't remember the old times when this track used to be this fast and ferocious run, and Copse Corner was the toughest opening corner in the world of motorsport.
I think you could probably either lay the old one, the legacy one that we're racing right now, or the new one. Now, when the new one, the updated version came out, I was not a very big fan, and admittedly, it took them a few years to kind of get at the kinks out and the bumps and everything, but I do think it has developed into a great Formula One circuit. However, there is still something special, especially this section right here, this S section. We talked about it earlier, often imitated, never duplicated. I want to get your opinion. What makes this S section so fast between the speed? Why is it so much better than everywhere else?
Well, everywhere else starts to think about what do you need to do. Now, of course, this wasn't essentially a chicane that was generated initially. It was just a flat run left, and then it was a 90-degree right. That's how it used to be in terms of Silverstone's track map. But what you really get an understanding of Maggots and Beckett's and Chapel Corner is that it's the fact that it's built in such a way that when you look around it on the lap, it is built with one thing and one thing in mind, to generally slow the car down. This was a chicane, by the way, that was invented in 1991, surprisingly late for Silverstone. But what you get is that Maggots is really fast, and you are trying to slow it down for the left-hander just before Beckett's, and it constantly slows it down, so you go into the chicane with a sense of real raw aggression, I think, Joey. And would you also say then, when you come out of Beckett's and into Chapel, you've got a long straight to go, you know what, I aced that, and it pays pretty much dividends when I head over to Stoke because I've got an overtaking opportunity at the end of it.
I think you nailed it, and when we look at the big picture of it, it's the speed, right? And it doesn't bleed off a ton of speed, but it bleeds off enough each one of those S sections or each one of those S apexes. So maybe call it, 10% of the speed that you got to bleed off. So that allows that amazing front end grip and the drivers to really drive it through. And I think as a fan, right, even through the TV cameras, that's where you get that sense of speed, like, wow, holy smokes, look at how fast these cars are going into the corner. You physically see them turning in that lateral grip, and it doesn't bleed off of the speed. The corners aren't crazy long, but I know we're kind of rambling here. I do think it is the coolest S section in the world to watch visually, especially the Formula cars.
Oh, yes, and we are all for it here today. Togo Hesada being dropped a little bit here by Topi Courtaniemi. There's not much he can do. Nicola Cocchi is about 1.1 seconds back. So all of these drivers, you have to say right now, Joe, with 6 laps to go, they are still having to push at 100% because they know one small mistake and they are right back on top of each other.
Well, I look at the lap times. I'm all about the data. Our leader, a 41.4, his best. The last, a 41.6. So, yeah, only 0.2 of a second difference, less than a quarter of a second, if you want to put it that way. You got to be on top of it every single lap, every single corner. And this car right here, he's actually closed it back up on Togo Hesada. He was floating about 0.8 back, but it fell all the way back to about 1.5 seconds. Now this red number 2 only about 1 second behind Togo Hesada.
Yeah, so you're getting the sense that Red 2, not quite Nigel Mansell, and the Red 5 that he used to drive around here to such revelry around this circuit is Nicola Cocchi, who is trying to keep Togo Hisada at bay. I'm not sure, though, in terms of today's racing, whether this will count as a race towards the official stats. If it does and it stays like this here, Joey, this is one of the most amazing things that you keep in mind. Topi Courtiniemi, third all-time on wins, would be on for his 28th Grand Prix Legend Series victory.
I think it's extremely impressive, as it looks like Gary Ho is going to finally get that position back. He's trying to get down to the inside here. I'm sorry, that's Steve Morris on Bob Woodhouse. Gary Ho's the third car in line, and now Woodhouse going to fight back on the inside. That gray and green car. Can the number 10 put the power down? No. Tremendous defense from Woodhouse, but now the over-unders begin.
Oh, Steve Morris was so brave. Through Bridge Corner, he set Priory up like a dream. Gets on the brakes a little earlier, trying to drive through the corner a little bit quicker to get the exit, but it's well covered off the exit here by Bob Woodhouse on 5th, on 6th, on 7th places into Maggots and Beckett, and bring in Arturus Kondelis to this group. He's been quietly working about here, and he has latched himself onto the back quietly like an artisan, whittling away at that work.
I'd be a little bit worried about that green car fourth in line, because he might not have had the outright pace, but you look at his iRating, over 5,000 out there. That means his racecraft, his understanding of seeing the vision in front of him with all these cars in front, he's got a lot of experience. Not to say that these other drivers don't. Just keep an eye out for that green number 4.
Anybody with an iRating that starts with a 5+ is considered a great sim racer out there by default. Bob Woodhouse having to scramble about here because Steve Morris is trying everything, even the Ryan Hunter ray line, as he tries to find the dive at Bridge Corner. It's not quite there. Bob will now go defensive here as they run through Priory, because Brooklands can be unlocked as a short shoot overtaking opportunity, but no dice. They stay as is for the moment.
And this is the area of the track that Woodhouse got a little bit wide on that last corner. Much more neat and tidy here this lap. Actually extends his gap over that number 10, maybe by just a car length or so. And Kondelis all over the back of that purple car of Gary Ho. So I think that he's already starting to claim his first victim.
Yeah, and that's where you get the sense that if you can go and get a little one here and a little one there, you've got to run through the train one at a time if you're Kondelis. But still, Arturus sits and waits and watches and realizes that it's this run here that's important. Very aggressive line by Gary Ho. That might just open Arturus up here for a chance to overtake. Now watch on this Stowe straight, on this hanger straight, over towards Stowe, where the move's going to come along. Is it left? Is it right? Everybody following in the slipstream, and it's half defense, half attack. Straight on will go Steve Morris, and he'll lose out. And watch out for Arturus Kondelis. He might get 2 for the price of 1, as he now gets the line for the Vale. Oh, what experience by Arturus.
Read perfectly from that green number 4. Gary Ho tries to carry the momentum, but it's just not going to work. He's got to get the car turned back in. So you're right, 2 for 1 for Arturus. Now moves up into 6th, and got to remember, with about 3.5 laps left, Bob Woodhouse is just right up the road. I don't think that this fight is over. And in fact, I think that was Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado actually catching this group of 4 as well.
Well, if they start making mistakes like this, why not? Marco Antonio Lopez is always going to want to get a piece of the pie, so to speak, and now he in 9th place moves up onto this group and realizes there might be a little bit more in it for me. P3 overall in the championship, so definitely a sense of chase on the cards right now with 3 laps to go. It's 3 seconds the lead at the front, but Gary Ho is looking for 6th place back. Arturus Kondelis will try and chase down Bob Woodhouse for an extra place.
If he's got the pace to do it, I do think that they've got the time. They've already gone from 1.2 seconds down to about 3/4 of a second, hunting down that gray and green number 5. This is another battle a little bit further back in the pack. So Jack Wells leading this red number 13 with the checkered. That is Cam Porter, Matthew Maudsley all over the gearbox of that red number 13. You see Cam poking the nose down here into the Maggots Beckett's Chapel complex. Not often can you make a move going down in there, but if you can force somebody off the racing line early, it's so difficult to catch up, and then you might be able to catch him in the toe down the hanger straight.
Well, this is where the toe comes into play. Cam Porter with a monster run to the inside, heading towards Stowe Corner. He doesn't even bat an eye at the fact that he's side by side. The face of concentration, little bit of the worried whites in the eyes there. Not sure how much room he had on exit, but as he drives in once more, Jack Wells giving an absolute showcase on why he is car 6 in this field, getting the run around the outside, and will just about stave off for one corner, maybe two.
You see the smile out of Cam's face. You know there's tremendous respect between all of these drivers. I really do feel like that's one of the reasons why so many people come and race here. Look at the space given on the racetrack. Yes, this is an intense battle, but they are not beating on each other. They're not running into their cars. They are racing fairly, and everybody loves it.
Yeah, they are racing fairly, and they are racing fantastically, but there is your race leader speaking about racing fair and fantastic. When Toppy decides he wants to race, Joey, everyone else waves the white flag, because they know, everyone in this field knows, that Toppy is simply a one-of-one driver.
He is so good. He's only got about a lap and a half. I was honestly expecting Togo Hisada to be able to keep up with Topi, especially after he got by him early, but just to play to your point, there is nobody like Kortanyami, especially when he's hooked up in a good track for himself.
Oh, this is so good for Topi Kortanyami. We don't often see him on a Saturday. He turns up here, he turns up there. He's the stage hunter. Nicola Cocchi absolutely drifting it then over the top of the crest there and in towards that section of road at Bridge and then through at Priory Corner. He's there at 1.4 seconds. He'll be needing a lot of hope to get by Togo Hisada, and we've seen it before with Togo, but soon Barney will be waving and it will be the white flag here at this exhibition at Silverstone.
1 lap left for the black number 1. He's just got to put together 16 more corners and maybe a couple cars of lap traffic, but with 3 seconds in spare to Togo Hisada, I have a feeling that he can approach this lap how he likes to.
I think he can as well, running through the Maggots and now the right left of the chicane, leading to Beckett's Corner, which is the right-hander here, and then Chapel, which is the left king that leads onto the hanger straight. Lap traffic in front will dive heavily out of the way. That's Johnny Bell, who's getting out of the way there in the number 23 machine. We haven't seen much lap traffic here today. Everybody in this single split has been fantastic. Dancing down now in through Stowe Corner and looking to drive as much as he can out to the exit. Short shoot here to the fast version of the Vale, which is taken at 170 kilometers an hour, riding at 120 through Club Corner and onto the Sir Lewis Hamilton straight here. No DRS in a car which doesn't even have a rear wing, but he might as well have driven like he'd had that the entire race long, through at Abbey and now under the bridge as he enters the arena as he has done so many times before, as he has done with so much confidence before, as he will do with so much confidence again and again and again. It is Toppy's world and we are just living in it. Toppy Kortanyami rounds his way through Luffield, will drive his way past Woodcote and will dominate proceedings here at Silverstone.
The checkered flag does finally wave. Togo comes across second, Nicola in third. In this battle for what is 5th place, I believe Bob Woodhouse is going to hang on to it, but it is not without effort from that green number 4. Not going to get him at the line. I can tell you that Gary Ho almost got into the back of both of them as they were side by side on that last lap, and we'll watch the rest of these cars go ahead and finish out their final lap.
Pellegrino's off the road on the final lap of the race. over at a really weird point. It was that Abbey corner that he'd gone off the track. So a massive moment out there for him. This is what happened earlier on, though, with Gabriel Pellegrino. So down the hill. Oh, it's exactly the same thing as what happened earlier. An absolute clobbering from the Unicorns machine. That's Ackerman who went into the back of him, and Bjorn Ackerman out on the final lap.
You gotta keep on swimming out there. You never know what can happen even on the final lap. It can even happen on the final turn. A little bit of trouble back there for Ackerman, but I can tell you that looks like Pellegrino will cross the line, albeit on 3 wheels.
Well, speaking of those on 3 wheels, Michael Grissinger is another one of those who's trying to limp home on 3 wheels. He's got himself caught up in that too. He had his own hit with Connor Tolman down there on the last lap. So Stowe really catching everyone out. So Tolman out of the race. Grissinger has got to try and get in before the time cut. So too has Tolman. They got about 55 seconds here. Otherwise, they're going to be classified as a lap down, Joey.
That's a little bit of a shame, too, for everybody, and especially for Connor Tolman in the number 14. Remember, he had that Nordschleife podium, and he was doing so well fighting for the top 10 earlier.
Yeah, we'll run down as these last drivers will make their way over towards the line. The official results here from Silverstone. It was no doubt Topi Courtaniemi, number 28, getting the victory sorted by 3.5 seconds over Togo Hesada, who had been racing with a very high fever yesterday. I wonder if that temperature had come down today. He finds himself second with Nicola Cocchi in third. Kevin Verbruggen continuing his firm form. He gets fourth with Bob Woodhouse in fifth, and Arturus Kondelis unable to sneak his way through in sixth position. It's Gary Ho in seventh place. Eighth will belong to Steve Maurice, as actually there is going to be a penalty applied then late for something unserved. So that's going to drop Togo Hesada outside the top 10 from second down to 13th with an unserved penalty costing him at least 45 seconds in this race. So he will now fall to 13th, which will mean that it will now be Marco Antonio Lopez 8th, Pedro Temeladri in 9th, and Jack Wells is going to sneak a top 10.
And then 11th will be Cam Porter, Matthew Maudsley in 12th. Then comes Togo Hesada in 13th. We'll get to that here in just a second. Kirk Lapper in 14th, Roberto Pengrazi in 15th, Alan Graham in 16th, Gabriel Pellegrino, who we saw at the very end there, finishes 17th. Jonathan Jordan, 18th. Thomas Willershausen in 19th. Michael Grissinger in 20th. Across the page is those cars that had trouble on the last lap, albeit everybody did finish except for Ackerman. So we got Tolman, Ackerman, Bell, and Steffen to round out the 24 cars. And to mention the Togo Hesada incident here, Jake, what I assume happened is out of the final corner, or maybe one of the final few corners, he ran wide, maybe got a slowdown time penalty, and then didn't give it up before he crossed the line.
Well, I'm trying to look here out of Luffield Corner and over towards Woodcote, how aggressive he was over the sections of track, and he might have just clipped the curbs on the inside. You can do it on the new version, you can't do it on the old, so it's very easy to do, and that may have been where the troubles lay overall for him in terms of this one. We do have a chance, though, to talk to some of our drivers who managed to pick up results here today. We will start with a driver who finished third overall, who will join us in with an opportunity. That will be, of course, Nicola Cocchi, and he will be joining us to buy, hopefully in the next couple of moments, with Joey Atterbury.
Yeah, well, Nicola, I don't know if you saw, but promoted up to P2 because Togo picked up a penalty. Congratulations.
I just saw watching your broadcast. I had no idea. I guess maybe he got a slowdown on the last corner. Is that what happened?
I believe that's what happened. We think he cut the corner a little bit too much and was unable to give up that penalty before crossing the line.
Yeah, it just answered. Togo just answered to me, confirming that it was a slowdown on the last corner. Yeah.
Really unfortunate, but let's give you credit and talk about your race just a little bit. How tough was it to try to hang on to the back of Togo? Were you just trying to keep up, or did you feel like you had some speed to actually make a move at one point?
Well, I think I had a tiny chance to try and overtake, but it was way too risky. So I just, I just thought better to not push too much and to not. I was just trying to just stick to his back and push him into a mistake. And I honestly, I never thought I had the pace to stay with the leader pack, because this week was a little bit sketchy for me. In the middle of the week, I realized I was doing something wrong, which I still don't know exactly what. Maybe because this track is more favorable for people that use the left foot brake, and I just stole a setup from Seb and use it this race alone. So I come to a race without knowing the setup basically, and learning through lap after lap. So I wasn't really expecting to have amazing pace. I was just thinking to finish the race. And to be honest, with the Togo demoted, it was much better than I expected. I thought if I was lucky, I was going to get a podium, but this time luck is a little bit on my side.
Well, I think that this is a perfect question to ask you, because you were admittedly a little bit lost with the track. Where did you find it the most challenging with this car and this legacy track?
You know what? It's I think that's my main mistake. At least the aspect that I was losing most of the time, it was on the line. I was cutting the curbs, putting the wheel on the grass, and try to maximize the line as much as possible. In the first week, I was using the curb, but not too much. But after I saw the other guys racing, I realized I wasn't using the whole track, and I was just driving too much conservative in that aspect. So I started to cut more, and I recovered a little bit of on the lap time for sure. And honestly, not much else. Maybe the braking and the entry, when you have to do the little rotation of the car in some corner, it's tough, because in this track, this car slide very much. So you have to be a little bit driving like a rally car for sometimes, which I like a lot. But I know that is not the fastest way to drive this car. So you always have to balance, how much do you want to slide, how much do you want to rotate, and how much do you want to stay on the train tracks basically, and make the car not sliding, not nothing, just like driving on rails.
Well, I got to say thank you for coming out and racing. You're always one of the fast guys out here, and we'll see you next week, Nicola.
Okay, thank you guys. A shout out to Jorge and to Seb, which weren't able to drive with us today, because I thought it was. I'm sure that it would have been like a much more eventful race with them, but I'm sure they will get back together with us next week. And see you guys.
Well, that was the driver of that red number 2, Nicola Kaki.
That certainly was a great result for him in second. We do have the chance now to talk to your race winner overall, that being Topi Kortaniemi, who is here with us right now. Topi, honestly, it's like watching an artist, create something like the Sistine Chapel painting every time you go out there on the circuit. It's a marvel to see you race, but talk about the early stages, the start, not quite what you're expecting, and you had to work in the early laps to get back up to the race lead.
Oh, yeah, the start was horrible. I don't know how I managed to start so badly, but it created an interesting situation with Sti and Togo, and I enjoyed the good battle with Togo afterwards. Oh, shame he got a slowdown, I heard. I think he would be up to pace and he would be battling until the end.
Yeah, so that was his final corner, actually, which is what's dropped him back all the way down to 13th. But Toppy, looking at that race and how you go out and race, every time you turn up, it's like the bar gets raised with the fact that you're here. For you, I believe this will be win number 28 for you in the Grand Prix Legends Series. 2 championships to your name. For you, in terms of finding these victories, I know it's sometimes a little bit more difficult for you to race, but do you enjoy that stage hunter aspect of racing where you can just go out, not focus on the championship, and just gun for a victory?
Yeah, I wasn't going to race until Togo sent a message that he's going to be racing. So I think both of us had little practice, so it was really fun to kind of like a proper race weekend with limited practice, then qualifying, then race, and see what happens. It was a fun race.
So will that tempt you then to turn up 6 days from now at Mazzano?
Maybe. That's a strong maybe.
Well, we take strong maybes. We'll definitely take that. The floor is yours, though, Toppy. It's a victory from you and the Pikes from Beach Racing team. Anybody you'd like to give a thank you to?
Oh, yeah, Togo for the great race, and Steve and all the 49 community.
No worries at all. Toppy Courtaniemi there, joining us and picking up a brilliant result there, a victory overall. Joey, I believe you've got your eyes set down the paddock at Kevin Verbruggen, who finished off with a very strong result here today.
Yeah, standing by with that driver of the number 8, Kevin Verbruggen. Congratulations on the podium finish here today.
Thank you, guys. Yeah, it was a fun drive. Yeah. Unfortunately, I did make a little mistake in quali, which put me a little bit back because I feel like I had the pace to, with the draft, hang on to the lead pack. But even then, this is very happy to get this position, especially after last week. There was, of course, the big crash on lap 1, and I felt like I had podium pace there as well. So this feels a bit like redemption for that race.
Now, you did have a little bit of a lonely race out there today, and you had mentioned maybe a little bit of a slip in qualifying. How important do you think that track position really was?
Yeah, it's in this car is often very difficult to overtake still, and like I said, I didn't really have the pace of the top guys. But having that slipstream definitely helps to keep close, and yeah, I wasn't able to profit from that today because of the mistake.
I definitely hear you with that. The slipstream is powerful, especially with how fast this Silverstone Legacy circuit is. Looking at the rest of the schedule, is there any of them that you're really kind of circling to say, hey, you know what, I really would like to be on the podium, maybe even claim a win here this season?
Let me take a look. There is, Zandvoort is coming up pretty soon, which is also a pretty tight, twisty track, which I seem to do well at. And of course, Dutch. Willow Springs is coming up, and I think I can be quick there. Yeah.
Well, here, let me ask you about this one that I see on the schedule in 2 weeks. Bristol.
Yeah, unfortunately, I will be missing Bristol. Okay, so sorry about that.
Okay, no worries.
I'll be in Hungary enjoying the F1 race.
Oh, well, you know what? That's an acceptable excuse. That is awesome. Enjoy the vacation. Enjoy the real world racing. Before I let you go, Kevin, is there anybody that you want to give a shout out here to?
Frankly, I want to thank you guys for, of course, there were yesterday the technical issues for iRacing, so to be able to set up something like this in such a short time span is quite amazing. So thank you.
No problem. We always love covering your races, and thank you for coming out and racing with us.
Thank you.
That was Kevin Verbruggen, 3rd place finisher here, driving that blue number 8.
He managed to profiteer off of a podium after getting through with the penalty from Togo Hosada, who we'll get the chance to talk to right now. Togo, race saishu kona deno penalty, shinjirarenai hodo zannen data. Kyou wa pointo ga shohi sarenai node anshin shimashita ka?
Yeah. My condition is a little bit not good for the weekends. And my if the race held on the Saturday, I definitely running a good pace. So just racing on Sunday just helped me a lot. But top is fast there. So I tried everything, and I had a very great battle with him, Topi, with in the lap 4, I think. Yeah. And then he's running away, and I tried to follow him as much as I can. Yeah, the last corner, I just drifted a little bit. Yeah, and cut the inside pole. Yeah, I think the 0.5 meter or something. Yeah, it's very close, but no time to slow down. Yeah, just. Passing the last corner, immediately passing the control line, so there's no time to avoid the 40-second penalty. So that's shame.
For those who didn't quite understand what I was saying, it was Togo. A penalty on the final corner of the race is incredibly unfortunate. Are you relieved that this won't cost you points today? In terms of your race, though, you had the ability to jump through the lead. May have been surprising to see Steve Morris give it such a strong go on the inside at the opening corner, but your first couple of laps, you really had to work to battle with Topi Korteniemi. Why don't you talk us through how you had to battle in order to try and hold him back?
I just trying to not watch the mirror. I'm very, Top is very, very fast in racing pace, so just calm down, and then just focus on every apex. That's it, yeah.
I heard, Togo, a little bit earlier on in the week that you've been struggling a bit with a fever out there. Yeah. So for you, how difficult was it for you to get in behind the sim rig and go out there and race? And over from yesterday to today, did that fever sort of come down for you, make it a little bit easier for you to race?
Yes, but still, I think I have now a little bit fever again, I think. But I think I caught, a little bit, how should I say, heat stroke. Yeah, I think I had kind of heat stroke, so just take a rest and prepare for the next week in a very good condition. Yeah.
How do you feel about Misano then in 6 days' time? Do you think you're going to be ready for that?
Yep. I never raced Misano in Lotus 49, yeah, so they're just very challenging, and the setups is enough. I have no setup, so they're just very, very challenging, but I also have, I'm really looking forward to race.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing you race as well, Togo. Commiserations on P13. It should have been a podium for you. But Togo Hasada there joining us then with a strong race that was taken away by 45 seconds. The checkered flag. But that is going to bring proceedings to a close then here today from the Grand Prix Legends Series. But it's not the last show that we will have tonight here on the Global Sim Racing channel, because you'll want to join us in just a couple of hours' time, because we'll be getting in with the Classic Lotus Series, Lotus 79 Championship. Want to give a massive thanks to the crew who's got it done, from Joey, from Daniel, and from Dougie as well. You just saw that fly across your screen, all of the equipment that helps get these shows over to you, including the music by June Lalonde. And you can see here all of what's coming up. Lime Rock Park is going to be along in just a shade under 2 hours' time. So you definitely want to jump in and see that with us. And we've got so much more that's coming up. You can follow us on our X. You can follow us on our Facebook and our Instagram. Go to our website and our merch store if you want to be 2 tenths faster by wearing a GSRC shirt. But with Topi Korteniemi dominating here in terms of one exhibition race, sim racing is about the community, bringing yourself together and just having fun. This was a bit of fun to have this week, but we're going to draw battle lines once again. It's Misano in 6 days' time. Race clean, race hard. We will see you at Misano.